I've just returned from Iran and an encounter with possibly the most powerful single individual in the world today.
I have only two arms, but the strength comes because what I represent to my people, if they like it or not. You can't keep on the way you were doing because the old way was a little exaggerated.
Do you think our inflation in the Western world is our own fault?
Not mine, anyway, because it started well before we increased the price of oil. You built your progress and your affluence at our expense. So you can't say that we increased the price of oil all of a sudden, because for 20 and some odd years, maybe 24 years, we have just been terribly exploited in a very mean way.
But weren't you a kind of partner to that exploitation when you signed the oil agreement of 1954, for instance?
Well, we had no choice. What else? We were starving, and we had to start doing something to build the country. We had no choice. They dictated to us, they decreased the posted price of oil when all the price of commodities in the world were on the increase. And they were telling us, well, take it or leave it, and we had to take it. Now things have been put right, and the price of oil is still so low that you have not yet started to mine your coal mines and liquefy the coal and gasify the coal, or even go in a big way in the development of your nuclear energy and find any other sources of energy.
But how much does it actually cost for your country to produce oil? In Canada, it costs us a great deal because we have to get it out of the Arctic. We have so many natural barriers to it. But you're just pumping it out of the sand as you've always pumped it out.
I don't think that this is a very fair question, because you are paying more your workers, so you have the right to ask more for your oil. And furthermore, then you are blessed with other things. For instance, you can grow wheat so cheap because you don't need any irrigation. You get all the water from the skies. You don't have to spend any money on the irrigation of that, when we have to do it. And that's why you and the Americans are feeding the world with your wheat, and all of a sudden your wheat that was sold for $60 a few years ago, you sold it for $245 last year or the year before. So your question, I don't think, is fair.
What you're trying to say is that we are asking more for our commodities the same way that you are.
Yes, exactly. And why? I don't know why you think that you are superior.
Do you think that we generally suffer from that, the feeling that we are?
I think that you are, so far, maybe, but probably you will change.
Why will we change?
Because your eyes are opened. And fundamentally, you are not unjust people. You have just been living in an unjust world for so long. But you will accommodate with the new realities of the world. We won't be pushed around. We don't wish a war. But if it is imposed on us, we will not shrink. For the next 20, 25 years, it's absolutely vital for us, because the Straits of Hormuz, which is the entrance to the Persian Gulf, is our jugular vein. We live by that. And furthermore, our forces which are there are not just for the Persian Gulf. They're just stationed there. They could serve in any direction. Nobody could invade us without being forced to crush us, because we are not going to surrender. What excuse will you have to come to these oil-producing countries? It will be barbaric, without any precedent in the world, the worst imperialistic movement that the world had ever known. How could you do that? And it's strange that it's absolutely normal for other countries to have even more arms than we have. And you start to talk about our force when you find it so obvious and normal for other countries. I can't quite make this out.
Is it perhaps that the Western countries are just not used to thinking of Iran as a major world power in any terms whatsoever, whether it's dealing about oil or whether it's talking about an army?
Maybe you're right, but they will have to cope with this development soon.
You're noted as a very strong authority figure in Iran, and yet you're extremely popular with the people. Somebody said to me that if there were a referendum held tomorrow, 90% of the people would vote yes for the Shah and all his policies. Why then do you need to be so authoritarian if you have this kind of popular support and warmth towards
Well,
you?
first of all, it's more than 90%. Secondly, what do you call authority? To enforce the law? To make such fantastic, drastic changes without bloodshed? If you call this authority, I don't think that my people mind that. They want it.
It's been said that there are some 20,000 political prisoners in Iran.
That's not true. We have about 3,000 and not more. Some people have even said that there are between 25,000 and 100,000 political prisoners.
You deny this?
Do I deny it? First of all, it's our business and not any of their business. But the truth and reality is that we have not more than 3,000.
It is essential that we comprehend the distinction between real money and paper money substitute. One cannot get rich by accumulating money substitutes. One can only get deeper into debt. We the people no longer have any money. We the people of the United States, living in the United States, no longer have any money. Most Americans have not been paid any money for a very long time, perhaps not in their entire life. Most Americans have not been paid any money for a very long time, perhaps not in their entire life, especially now when you got to go. Most people get their paycheck on a card. Now, do you comprehend why you feel broke? Now, do you understand why you are bankrupt along with the rest of the country? A Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, are unsigned checks written on a closed account. FRNs are an inflatable paper system designed to create debt through inflations, devaluation of currency. Whenever there is an increase in the supply of money substitute in the economy without corresponding increase in the gold and silver backing, inflation occurs. Inflation is an invisible form of taxation that irresistible governments conflicts, that irresponsible governments inflict on their citizens. Read that one more time. Excuse me. Gold and silver backing inflation occurs. Inflation is an invisible form of taxation that irresponsible governments inflicts on their citizens. The Federal Reserve Bank, who controls the supply and movement of FRNs, have everybody fooled. They have access to an unlimited supply of FRNs, paying only for the printed cost of what they need. FRNs, Federal Reserve notes, are nothing more than promissory notes for the U.S. Treasury security, T-bills. A promise to pay the debt of the Federal Reserve Bank. There is fundamental difference between paying and discharging a debt. To pay a debt, you must pay with value or substance, i.e. gold, silver, or barter, or commodity. With Federal Reserve notes, you can only discharge a debt. You cannot pay a debt with a debt currency system. You cannot service a debt with a currency that has no backing of value of substance. No contract in common law is valid unless it involves an exchange of good and valuable consideration. Y'all hear that? All these contracts that y'all signing, they're invalid. Unpayable debt transfers power and control to the sovereign power structure that has no interest in money, law, equity, or justice because they have so much wealth already. Their lust is for power and control. Since the inception of the central banking, they have controlled the fate of the nations. Yeah, we exposing the Americas. I'm putting y'all up on game now. If y'all don't understand it, that's your fault. Sugar is sugar, salt is salt. If you don't understand the game, then that's your fault. We're going to end it right here. Come back. Better catch this vibe.